Okay, so as it turns out, there's an entire chapter um, devoted to myths, which is good because this is what I want to see. Um, Now, before I get into this, I want to. Um, I haven't started. Well, I watched the first couple of seconds and I rewound it. I'm done eating, so this will be a next meal project. But I just want to get down um, what my idea of ancient contact is, because I'm getting the impression that this is debunking something that is well outside the realm of what I would consider worth thinking about, or is maybe even just not getting the point. If what they're proposing, or if they want to debunk the idea that there were, you know, that there was extraterrestrial contact in the past, because all of these ideas and memes can be explained as mythical representations of ideas in the Bible, then that's not an argument that gets anywhere. Um, what the problem we have before us, and what the hypothesis, what we're trying to do, is we're trying to find a naturalistic explanation for the stories in the Bible that go beyond, this is just somebody's imagination. Um, what we want to do is we want to say, okay, so there is this story in the Bible, and it talks about, and it's not just the Bible, other traditions as well, but let's stay with the Bible because um, I come from an atheist background, but I live in a Judeo-Christian culture, and most of the people around me are vaguely Judeo-Christian in some way, and speak with Judeo-Christians, and when they go outside of that, the furthest that they go is to Muslims, which have the same ideas. But I mean, you can see the same ideas in Hindu scripture. You see the same ideas in um, the only thing I can really say for sure is that like these ideas are in the Vedas. Um, of these, uh, the Vedas practically talk about a UFO invasion. Um, Although, I mean, that's not to be taken literally either, but the point being that the motive of angelic beings, angels, or spirits in the sky coming down to us, is the question that we're looking to explore, not the way to debunk that it ever occurred. It's missing the point. So if that's what ends up happening, I'm sorry, but you're not really understanding what's going on. So let me be clear. I'm not. I don't think I was entirely clear. So let's be clear about what it is that I would suggest is plausible. Okay. What I'm suggesting is plausible is that the reason that we have stories about angels and spiritual beings in the sky, and things coming down from the sky, people going up into the sky, and all of these things is because it's a memory of that actually occurring. And so any representation that you see in a religious context may be a memory of something that has that naturalistic explanation. Okay, now let's be clear about 2 points. One, religion is never a naturalistic explanation. Okay, and two, aliens are a naturalistic explanation. There's nothing supernatural or mystical about an alien. Okay, it's a life form that evolved on another planet, got into a spacecraft. Like I said a few times, would have to be extremely long-lived, but it physically moved from one place to another. Okay, there's nothing supernatural about that. It's a completely natural phenomenon. The supernatural phenomenon, the mysticism, is the Bible. So one does not debunk a natural explanation by saying that it correlates with mysticism. Rather, one debunks mysticism by providing a naturalistic explanation. Now, two more thoughts about this. I don't know who this guy is or what his motives are, but I could certainly see why it is that a religious group would want to debunk this sort of thinking, either by presenting ridiculous hypotheses, like you're seeing in the series that this video is debunking, or perhaps by presenting the kinds of arguments that I'm seeing here. The flip side of that is that it could very well just be sort of innocent, nose bleeding kind of thing. But I have to be clear that I have a really hard time understanding how anybody could say, well, this story in the Bible is a better explanation, unless they're coming at this from a theistic perspective. Unless they're saying that we don't need aliens to explain this because we have the Bible. When rather it's the other way around. And what an atheist would need to have, somebody that wants to approach, these religious texts as, perhaps symbolic fiction, but fiction nonetheless, what they would say is that we need something to explain the Bible. And so aliens are a natural way for us to explain the Bible, rather than we don't need aliens to explain this because the Bible does. The logic is just warped. And that goes back to what I was saying, is that you have to really be able to separate yourself from a theistic perspective and really be able to assert a fully atheistic worldview in order to really approach these kinds of things properly. Now, of course, I'm not... my entire debate is existing in a hypothetical space. None of this proves anything. None of this can prove anything. It's purely hypothetical. And that's really all I wish to present, is the idea that it is a valid hypothesis. And one that should not be immediately discarded. Really one that is a perfectly good and maybe, well, I would argue the best that I've heard naturalistic explanation for the preponderance of sky themes in human mythology. Why did we create religion? This might help us understand that question, or the answer to that question. Why are we always, why is this so central in so much of the religious thinking? This idea of skies and moving up to the sky and communicating with beings from the skies? Maybe there was something to it. And maybe if you analyze it carefully, you might be able to see little bits and pieces that might help us to build a theory that could ultimately be confirmed. See, I say ultimately confirmed because that's the problem, is that what I'm proposing to you is not falsifiable. Meaning it can never be proven wrong. In a lot of scientific fields, if something is not falsifiable, that's a big problem. The issue of human origins, it doesn't bother me as much. the fact that this can't be proven wrong doesn't lead me to the conclusion that I should think that it's not something that should be taken seriously. Because it does seem to provide a naturalistic explanation for a broad concept of things. And the positive, and this is where, I actually agree with the UFO cultists, or the New Age, goofs, these New Age goofs. I was trying to say gobbledygook, and I came out as saying gook, and I had to stop myself because I didn't want that to be misinterpreted. But all this New Age gobbledygook is the idea that if we can move beyond traditional religion, we need to move beyond traditional religion to enter into a new era of civilization. And I do think that something at this kind of level is really necessary to disarm religion. The various theories that we have about why we have religion, why we created it, what its purpose is, are not strong enough to neutralize it, to really debunk it, because there really isn't a naturalistic explanation for it. They're just kind of lofty hypotheses. Maybe we saw this and we thought that. The one thing that is naturalistic is to actually tie it to some kind of phenomena. And it's really the only hypothesis that I've seen so far that is satisfying in that respect. But it's not. It's neither something you can prove nor something you can prove false. It's just I think absolutely prudent that it's not discarded offhand as nonsense. And like I say, I think I think the disconnect is that people look at aliens as a supernatural idea, when they should be conceived of and interpreted as a fully naturalistic idea and a naturalistic explanation of superstitious concepts. The one thing that could really kind of get me out of this kind of thinking would be something more compelling would have to be demonstrated to me as to the origin of the sky myths. Things I've seen and heard, regarding thunder or being stuck in the elements, the heights of mountains. These things don't convince me much. They're just not compelling. And I think that one way or the other, finding an answer to that question, why is it that we focus so much on the sky, is really fundamental to understanding what this religion thing is, why we created it, and why does it so many people have such a hard time letting it go. But I'm going to watch the rest of this, I guess, probably for the rest of the week, or the bulk of it anyways. This is a long video. And hopefully it gets beyond this kind of broken thinking that it seems like it's stuck in. Because it's not. You know, it's saying this motive in the Bible or this motive in Renaissance painting is explained by the fact that it looks like angels, or that we understand that it comes from, analysis to angels. It does nothing to disarm the idea that religion as we understand it is a UFO cult, and that being the basic premise. And of course, as I stated, if you are approaching the situation from a religious perspective, that thought would never cross your mind. You would think of the religion as true and the UFO as an exotic explanation, whereas the atheist and the rationalist is going to look at it the opposite way. They're going to look at the extraterrestrial contact as the rationalistic, naturalistic explanation, and your religion as the exotic, supernatural, confused mythical memory that needs to be sorted out and fixed up. So I hope at least that I made myself clear as to exactly what hypothesis it is that I consider worth contemplating, and maybe even worth believing, and what it is that I think is nonsense, and why it is that the prognosis for this video as a means to modify my approach to things is not high, because it doesn't look to me like it really understands the basic argument that's being presented to it.